Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to journey deep into the Amazon rainforest, but probably not the one you're picturing. We're going to look past all those familiar images to uncover some of its most incredible hidden secrets. What if, just beneath that dense green canopy, there's a whole world of invisible forces and hidden connections, things that actually shape our entire planet? So yeah, we're talking about trees that communicate, rivers that literally fly, and new ways of seeing what's always been hidden. Let's dive right in, starting with a secret that's been right under our feet this whole time. Okay, so our first secret takes us underground. And what we're finding is that the forest isn't just a random collection of trees. No, it's more like a single, vast, interconnected community. And the secret to this community is something called mycorrhiza. It's this amazing partnership between fungi and tree roots that creates a massive underground network. You probably heard it called the Wood Wide Web, and that's exactly what it is. It's the biological internet of the forest. And yes, it lets trees talk to each other. So how does it work? Well, it's pretty incredible. You have these big, old hub trees that are great at photosynthesis. They make way more sugar than they need. So they send that extra sugar down to the fungi. And in return, the fungi deliver crucial nutrients from the soil right back to the tree. But it doesn't stop there. This network allows the whole forest to act like a single organism, sharing resources with saplings, or even sending out warning signals about pests. And the scale of this thing is just mind-blowing. Get this, researchers actually mapped out one of these networks and found that a single large tree was connected to 47 other trees. Forget your social media feed. This is the original social network, and it's happening all the time, right beneath us. All right, for our next mystery, we're going to move from the soil into the Amazon's rivers and streams. And this is where we run into one of biology's most fascinating paradoxes. For decades, scientists have been scratching their heads over this one question. How on earth can so much life be crammed into such a tiny amount of water? Okay, let's just try to wrap our heads around these numbers. The entire Amazon River system holds less than 0.002% of all the liquid water on Earth. A tiny, tiny fraction. Yet somehow, packed into that space are over 5,600 different species of fish. That's about 10% of all known vertebrates on the entire planet. It just doesn't seem possible. So how is it possible? Well, scientists explain it by thinking about diversity in different layers. So first, you've got tons of different species all living together in one little spot. That's alpha diversity. Then you go to the very next stream over and you find a completely different group of fish. That's beta diversity. And this pattern just repeats over and over across the whole basin, creating this unbelievable patchwork of unique, life-filled ecosystems. Okay, for our next secret, we're heading up, way up, high above the forest, where a brand new technology is finally letting us peel back the canopy and see what's underneath. You know, for the longest time, satellites could only give us a picture of the very tops of the trees. It was frustrating. Everything else, the actual structure of the forest, all the biomass, all the carbon stored in there, was a complete mystery from space. But now, there's this. This technology is an absolute game changer. It's a special kind of long wavelength radar that doesn't just bounce off the leaves. It actually slices right through the canopy, kind of like an X-ray. And for the very first time, it lets us map the entire forest from top to bottom. So what does this forest X-ray actually show us? Well, we can finally get an accurate measure of all the carbon that's locked up in the tree trunks and branches. We can map the topography of the forest floor even through the thickest cover. And maybe most importantly, we can track deforestation that's totally invisible to regular satellites. This is absolutely critical data for understanding climate change. All right, our final secret, and honestly, this one might be the most mind-bending of all. It's about a river that's even bigger than the Amazon itself, but it flows completely unseen right over our heads. It all starts with this number, 1,000 liters. That's about 260 gallons, and that is roughly how much water a single large tree in the Amazon can pump into the atmosphere every single day. Now, just imagine that, but multiply it by hundreds of billions of trees. What you get is something scientists have nicknamed flying rivers. They are massive airborne streams of water vapor that get carried by the wind and have a huge impact on weather, far, far away from the forest. So basically, the Amazon makes its own weather system. All this water vapor gets carried by trade winds across South America until, bam, it hits the Andes Mountains.
The mountains act like a wall, forcing all that moist air up. It cools, condenses, and falls as rain, watering huge agricultural regions in southern Brazil, Argentina, and even further. The Amazon literally exports rain.
But here's the scary part. This whole incredible system is under threat. Studies are already showing that deforestation has cut down the volume of these flying rivers by almost 25%. It's a pretty simple equation. Fewer trees means less water vapor, which means less rain for millions of people who depend on it. So, okay, talking trees, invisible rivers, super dense aquatic life, why does uncovering all these secrets really matter so much, especially right now? Well, it's because every new discovery like this becomes part of our collective story. It builds on these foundational moments, from Rachel Carson's Silent Spring to modern warnings about extinction. These new secrets from the Amazon, they're the next chapter in how we understand our world. And you can see this shift happening in our culture, too, not just in science. You look at a novel like Richard Powers' The Overstory, and it's all about this exact idea, about learning to see those invisible forces at play and realizing the world isn't just a collection of resources, but a living, breathing network. So really, our whole way of thinking about this is evolving. We used to call the Amazon the lungs of the planet, which is a nice metaphor. But what we're learning now shows it's so much more than that. It's more like the planet's complex, interconnected brain and its circulatory system, all rolled into one. All this new science is making these once invisible worlds totally visible to us. And that leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? Now that we can see it all, how is that going to change the way we protect this planet we all share?